Hi everyone, it's Lara with the MILLA Project. Today I'm meeting with Yossi Gestetner, who is a columnist and news analyst for the Hasidic community, and I'm going to ask Yossi to properly introduce himself.
You pretty much did a good job. I write columns and I'm a news analyst for the Jewish community, within the Jewish community, and I also provide outreach services for institutions within the community that need outreach to the secular street, let's say the media, or outside groups, organizations, businesses, and political forces that need entry into the Jewish community. I try to provide an outreach between both sides.
And for those of you who are not familiar with me or the MILLA Project, I am an agent of the MILLA Project, the founder, and we are for women and children's rights. So I think today we're going to have a very interesting conversation, but of course respectful. So the goal of it is just to have an open dialogue about the differences between secular and religious communities, maybe some misunderstandings, and maybe advocate for some movements towards more modern regulations for the women in the community. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, sure.
Quickly, I wanted to run through some common practices, and from what I understand, it's more based off of tradition than it is religious law. So I'm just going to go right into it and see what you have to say. So Hasidic Jewish clothing. For men, it's long black garb, hats, long beards, and curls by their side. Is that like religious law, or is that tradition, cultural?
It's both, depending what. Say, for example, the curls that they call the pious. According to the Bible, you're not supposed to cut this area of the hair. Now, some people within the Orthodox community say, okay, as long as you don't cut it off in full, it's not a problem. Hasidim, they take it to the next level. They say, don't touch it at all.
Okay.
Similarly is the issue with beard. According to the Bible, you're not supposed to, not necessarily shave the beard, but more, you shouldn't take out, I forgot the exact name, but when somebody takes out the hair, the whole root gets taken out. So according to the Bible and the Torah, you're not supposed to take out the roots of the beard.
Okay.
So again, some people out there say, okay, shave and nothing happens. Others say, no, don't touch it at all. And also, there are, as they say in Api Kabbalah, there are many people today studying Kabbalah. There is some higher things, if you want, if you will, about not touching the beard at all. So the idea of Hasidic men going with long beard is basically a combination of don't touch it at all because you don't want to get close to violating the rule of not ripping out the hair with the root, and there's also to it more of Api Kabbalah, as they say, why you shouldn't touch it. Go with the keep on your head is, I think, if you're going to see in the church, you have it also with priests or whatever, all levels of the hierarchy in the church. They also go with a covered head. Covered head is not something which is, you see many Orthodox Jews, they go into work, they don't cover their head at all. They're perfectly kosher Jews, but certainly again, Hasidim take Judaism to a next level, and going covered with your head covered it's officially one of the reasons made to keep a person more, I think the word is somber, a little bit more serious. The full name of a kippah is called a yarmulke, and the wording of this is Yurai Mayavika, which is fair from God. So the idea is you go head covered, it's a little bit, it's a sense of seriousness. The idea of going with you would say a black garb or a three-piece suit, the concept here is that you shouldn't, it's maybe you want to call it I don't know, oxymoron. It's from the one hand, you shouldn't stand out, but on the other hand, say, why don't you shouldn't stand out? If you're a Hasidic guy, you're walking down Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, you stand out. But the concept of going with dark clothing, dark garb, is that the red or any bright color makes you stand out.
Okay.
And basically you gotta try to wear garb without drawing extra attention to yourself.
And this is off of the religion or just tradition? Just from so many years of doing something?
It's a combination of both. But then again, there's also another thing why people go why the Hasidic garb is what it is when a person, the Talmud says that if somebody has a strong urge of doing a sin, he should basically dress in black, cover himself in black, go in a place where nobody knows him, and he should sin. The concept isn't do whatever you want to go sin. The concept is that when a person goes, it's tough for a Hasidic guy to walk in this way in a club.
Right.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever seen a Hasidic man in a club.
Now, if a Hasidic man wants to go to a club, he'll perhaps take off this garb. But by going dressed in a certain way, it's sometimes when he would be tempted to do certain things, this doesn't match, this doesn't fit.
Okay.
So it's a combination of many things, and this is one of the reasons why you go dressed in certain ways. Is that on the one hand, don't stand out, on the other hand, no, stand out in a modest way where this will make you think twice before you want to go. Before you want to do anything against the Jewish law.
Okay. Here's one I found interesting. So women are fully covered except for their palms and their face. They must wear dresses or skirts, and pants are not allowed.
Again, according to the Jewish law, the laws of modesty, women don't need to be covered until their ankles. It's accepted as long as it covers up to their knees.
Okay.
It's okay. If women go, if they pull up wear the sleeve over to the hair, it's not a problem. Collarbone definitely will be is something that you should keep covered. Again, it's not the issue of the collarbone. It's once you open the collarbone, you would, sorry my blatant language, but you would over time be more willing to open up a few more buttons, which obviously is something which leads to can lead to a non-kosher presence, if you will. The issue of women not going with pants, Orthodox women, many of them, certainly modern Orthodox, they go dressed with pants and they are full kosher Jews. But of course, in the Hasidic community, it's not something that will happen, certainly not in public.
But why?
Because most of the time, and again, I'm gonna, I gotta be frank, if you will, because most of the time a person going with pants, I think it shows body parts where you would prefer it should not be it shouldn't be showing. And this is I think this is one of the core things of the way Orthodox life in general, but specifically Hasidic life, is to put up a lot of protection, borders, guidelines, boundaries that against the issue of sexuality. Sexuality, I'm not speaking if somebody is straight versus gay. I'm speaking about the issue of sex in general. And the reason for it is that if you have an honest look, an honest assessment, many troubles for men and women, boys and girls, start and end with the issue of sexuality. When the issue of sex is uncontrolled, freewheeling, whatever you want, a lot of trouble can arise from it. And it can be anything from a person losing his job because of, sorry my language again, screwing around in the office, a person destroying his marriage, hurting his wife's feelings just by cheating, unwanted pregnancies, rapes, false accusations or accurate accusations of sexual harassment, AIDS. I mean, the list can go on and on and on. How much trouble, how many parts of life of a person can get destroyed if the issue of sexuality is freewheeling, uncontrolled. So therefore, so many boundaries are put into place to still stay away from it. It doesn't mean that you can enjoy life, as I say, in the bedroom with your wife, whatever you want. But in the public, you gotta do whatever you can to separate the opposite genders, the members of the opposite genders or the opposite sex, as they call it, in order to avoid getting to dangerous levels. I'm
just thinking that a pair of pants is not going to lead to unprotected sex or rape. And rape is an act of violence. It's more of a thing about control than it is about well, it actually has absolutely nothing to do with what a woman is wearing. So I'm stuck on the pants thing. I would like to see some movement in the Hasidic community. Please pass that on.
I'll tell you this. No one is blaming that if a woman gets raped, it's the woman's fault.
Okay.
But definitely, if the man is out there, his temptations are running wild. He doesn't have any self-control. He would be the bad guy. He would be the animal to do this.
Right.
So therefore, you should lead a life, not the woman. The man should lead a life. The society should lead a life of self-control, of modesty, of separation between the sexes, to decrease the chance of such a crazy thing as rape. But not necessarily rape. How about cheating at work as well? Now, let me ask you something else.
Sure.
I'll ask you something.
Okay.
Why are the other name? Locker rooms.
Yes.
At gyms, swimming pools. Why are they separate between men and women?
Well, I mean that has. There are differences in our body parts, and if you're changing clothes, more than likely you're naked. There's also showers in there, so you don't want to. I don't think that has. It's not crazy to think you don't want to shower with a stranger, right? Like you don't.
But a stranger
as an opposite sex.
But a stranger woman.
You don't
know her. And how about people who are lesbian or gay? To them, a member of the opposite sex is not necessarily opposite to them. It's to them.
I think it just has to do with the difference of our body. The difference in our bodies.
Okay.
But.
So, for whatever reason, the secular street understands that there needs to be a separation. Say in gyms, in gym locker rooms.
At a certain level.
Okay. So the Hasidic street is taking in. Maybe we should have a conversation. What is Hasidus?
That's on there.
But what I'm saying is, just as you understand the concept that you got to keep some separation for whatever reason you understand it.
Right.
The Hasidic way of life is take it to the next level. Keep the separation at a wedding, or maybe in some family settings too.
Okay. All right, let me ask some more questions here because there's just so many. Married women wear a wig. What's up with that?
Let me tell you, the concept of a wig is that a married woman shouldn't have her natural hair showing, and hair is one of the things which can be very appealing to a man.
Okay.
So. Some people in the past, they didn't wear a wig at all. They used to go with a bandana all the time. But over time, the community became obviously more liberal and said, okay, you know what, they can go with wigs. Others said, okay, go with the wig, but it should be covered. So in other words, the person should know that she's married, so back off. Same as with the idea of Hasidic women sharing their hair. Cutting the hair. I think Hasidus stands for is around for how many years? For 300 years.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of Hasidic women cutting their hair is around maybe 170 years.
Okay.
It's an issue which
just more of a tradition.
It's another level of modesty that many people in the rabbinical authority decided more than 150 years ago that it should be accepted. Now there are many people in the Hasidic community. We can call them full-scale Hasidim. Their wives have their own hair, but it's covered with a wig or a bandana.
Okay. Attending college is highly discouraged.
It's not necessarily highly discouraged. It's rather impossible for many people to do it.
Why?
So for example, because I have family members who are attending college now.
Mm-hmm.
One of them has 2 children. The youngest is, 10 years old. So obviously she has a lot of time to attend college. Go ahead and attend college. But many people, first of all, there are definitely people who are against the concept of attending college. But this isn't necessarily women shouldn't attend, men either shouldn't attend.
Right. I mean, it is both.
It's both. For many people in the community, it's both. But some of them have the issue of, again, not being in a surrounding, in an environment which is perhaps not kosher, if you will. Or for other people, it's just impossible, because if the mother is at home taking care of children, the father's out there trying to bring home bread there isn't much space or place to get a secular education. Now, I'm not saying this is something which works in the community. Definitely, according to the Talmud, it clearly states that a father must learn his son a trade. He should learn something. He should know. Basically, when he gets married, when he starts out his life, he should have something in his hands, if you will, to help provide for his family. Mm-hmm. And I think this is definitely an issue which many people in the Hasidic community will admit to you, and that there is this gap. Because on the one hand, I think Hasidic men or women getting a religious education, I think it's helpful in many ways, mm-hmm. in a lot of ways. But on the other hand, there's still this gap of when Hasidic boys and girls, certainly, but the boys, when they grow older, 15, 16, 17, 18, they lose out on getting some secular education. Mm-hmm. Now, most Hasidic boys' schools have definitely English classes, if you will, English classes later in the day, but you can definitely make the case that it's not sufficient enough. And many people in the community will admit to you that one of the reasons why people have issues with bringing home enough money can be definitely traced back to the fact that many boys in our community, in our circles, don't get a proper education in the secular world, in the outside world. Now, it doesn't mean that it needs to be done on the time of the religious education. I think the day is long enough. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that a person needs to go necessarily in college to get that education. He can get it in a more, if you want, religious environment. But there's definitely a need for more secular education, and I'm going to definitely get heat for saying this on the record.
Okay, but you know what? I'll have your back on this one, because education is empowerment, and it's not necessarily, however you want to educate people, kosher or secular, whatever. It's just to give a variety of knowledge and information so that people can continue to make good choices for themselves and their families, and bring in an income that's necessary for their size family or whatever. It's important, and to miss out on it because of an unkosher or whatever the reasons are, environment for not attending a university, it's not acceptable, and I would really like to see people going. So
there are obviously when I left yeshiva, I took it's nothing major, but I took the GED, the high school diploma, mm-hmm. and I passed it. I didn't need to go to sit in high school for a few years. I took the book and started it and done. I went over to Rockland Community College, RCC, to do some writing classes. I took some classes online. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't know, I'm tomorrow the CEO of a big company, but Rush Limbaugh didn't either have a college, and I think many people in big business didn't necessarily have college education. So there is, to some extent, this argument can be made that you don't need to go specifically to college to have a chance of reaching more places in business.
So, no, that's
but
true.
There's definitely a need for more education,
right,
outside. And in my little world, where I write columns and I do outreach, I need to have a lot of interaction with the secular world. It's definitely that by me going out there and just studying a little bit more the writing and reading and taking classes and courses, it helped me a lot.
Well, can you make an argument that to do classes online is kosher?
And definitely, and there are many Hasidic guys who are accountants who have taken courses and classes in many areas. But so obviously the community is slowly but surely, you see Hasidic guys and women both, slowly, and many of them are typically people take care of special needs children, social workers. Mm-hmm. So you got to get some training and classes on education of that, and they're out there doing it. So in a nutshell, there's definitely an understanding in the community today more than say 50 years ago the need to be consistent with a secular education. Mm-hmm. But there's still this objection of this education being presented or provided necessarily in a college someplace in Manhattan, when, as you said, you can have it online, or you can have it in some more a religious environment, mm-hmm. where you can still keep the standards of whatever Hasidic life demands from men and women alike.
Okay. Next question. Staying isolated and segregated and not befriending others who are not Hasidic, so the secular world. Like, I don't understand that concept.
I think I'm going to be a little bit controversial. I think this concept is misrepresented, or perhaps some sort of a bigotry against the Hasidic community. The fact of the matter is, 90% people in the United States marry their own race. People, you don't have many black people going to churches that are run by people outside their own race. You don't have many Hispanic people showing up at different churches.
I think that's not true.
Okay, give me a second.
Okay.
I live here, where I live. There's a synagogue right over there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a church, an African American church over there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a church that is used over there, like a community center used by Hispanics and Haitians, and then we also have a mosque. And I haven't seen anybody stepping into something which is not in their race, their religion, or their background.
Okay.
When the Hispanic community gets together for whatever they want to do, you're not going to see a black person walking in there. When you have the Asian community over there, you're not going to see Hispanic people walking in there. People, to some extent, keep to their own race and religion.
I'm not saying that segregation doesn't happen, to different communities, races or religions, or, I'm not saying it's specific to the Hasidic community. In general, in my world, I see people from all sorts, races, religions. I mean, personally, I go to mosques. I go to, regular churches to talk to people. I go to temples, and I get to see a variety of people in there. Like, Hispanic people will come to a church where it's not predominant Hispanic. The whole world is not segregated, and I'm glad about that. And I want to see more.
If I may,
yeah.
Okay, let me answer to it. First of all, your line of work, your advocacy demands from you to be more outreach, and for the same reason you're not the first person to put me on camera.
Right.
Where most Hasidic people wouldn't do it, or because they're ashamed or they don't know how. So to take your way of life or my way of life, I think it isn't necessarily a way to measure it. But let me tell you something. Hasidic people who do business, who do work, they interact with non-Jews at all times.
But isn't it right that they don't actually befriend them? So, of course, everybody can interact in a kind way towards each other, and professional.
Friend in which way? To go out, on a Sunday and play.
Yeah.
There's actually some people in the Hasidic community do it, but your strict Hasidic guy, or you would call your rigid Husid out there, wouldn't play any sport to begin with.
Okay.
But there are definitely people who they interact, and they will go out on lunch. It mostly would be probably in a professional manner, let's say for a business need.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you go out there, and if you look at statistics, and if you look at reality, if you don't belong to a certain church, and you have an issue with providing food, food on the table at home, you got to go to certain churches will not help you because you're not a member of that church.
I don't think so.
Again,
I mean, I'm just saying.
According to Jewish law, you gotta give charity to non-Jews. When a non-Jew, let's say a non-Jewish neighbor has a death in the family, you gotta go out there and help them out.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta live with your neighbors as a normal person.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that most Americans and most of their lives, people live in their own community, their own sect, and their own in many, many ways. Now you can say, what do you mean? Going to a club, you see everybody. Going to a movie theater. I understand. But when it comes to things which are more related to family, to marriage, to religion, people stake in large percent, maybe a smaller percent of the Hasidic community, but in huge percentages to their own background, which is okay with me.
Okay, so we're gonna agree to disagree on this one.
Okay.
But do you at least agree that it's taken to another level? I mean, if I wanted to come and move into like the Hasidic community, the neighborhood, I'm not going to be welcome there. I mean, really not welcome there. So, like,
if a guy wants to move into an area which is, I don't know, a gated community, which is pretty much filled with, I don't know, say white people or African Americans or Hispanics, how welcome would he be? Would he be there?
In the traditional American community neighborhood, I'm going to say welcomed. I mean, because I don't see the level of segregation.
People, again, saying welcome, saying hello, saying hi, and greeting in the morning, okay. But as you said, the feeling welcome, the Hasidic people have a different, you know what, move into Chinatown tomorrow, you tell me how welcome you're going to feel over there.
I don't think they're going to have a problem with me.
I'm not saying the Hasidic guy will have a problem, but you said you're not going to feel welcome.
Okay.
Well, move into Chinatown and call me.
Okay, let's move on. Let's see. All right, let's talk about family size. And I'll tell you why am I bringing this up. So families are encouraged to have many babies. Is this correct? Like large families. Some, the average could be like 10 children.
The Kiryas Yoel, which is in Monroe, Orange County, is considered to be one of the most really Hasidic areas in the United States. According to census, the average family over there has 6 children.
Okay.
And I told her the statistic tonight, 6 children? I thought everybody has 10, 12. No, the average is 6.
Okay. So I'm not so concerned about family size. The whole point of asking all of these questions is to ask whether or not the women have a choice to participate. Like, if I was married and I'm in a Hasidic community and I only wanted to have one child, how is that going to be received?
The same way if a man decides with his wife that having too many children doesn't work for them, how will it be received? It's not something which...
I don't know.
Let me tell you something. In today's generation, you have way more families than, say, 25 years ago, which have less children than the same stage in marriage than, as I said, 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. I think, and again, I'm being honest, and this is one of the things where my inbox will get full. But I think the use of birth control in the community is, quote unquote, the permission granted, the permission to use it, if you will, is done way more frequently today than it was done 30, 40 years ago. Many rabbis have come to realize and to notice that women today, husbands today, men today, have in many ways less of the strength as people had, say, 50 years ago, when people ate more healthy. We had a more healthy lifestyle, not Hasidic or not Hasidic. So everybody will tell you today that the lifestyle that we have, the constant rush, the technology, the crazy food, the crazy schedules, it destroys people, mentally, psychologically, physically. And people have less energy to build huge families. And you would see people today at age 30 having less children than the same person at age 30, 50 years ago.
Okay.
So, in most Hasidic areas, in most Hasidic households, people don't necessarily say, hey, you see, he has only 2 children. This guy's a bad guy. It doesn't work that way. Now again, in certain places, in certain sections or certain sects of the Hasidic community, perhaps, but in many places it isn't so. And again, so definitely the religious way of life, not necessarily Hasidic, the religious way of life is the concept of reproduction, of keeping the world going. You go out to Middle America, to the southern states, people have over there 5, 6, 7 children. I don't know, start looking at these presidential candidates running around with, as if they're Hasidic guys, running around with 10, 15 children, not necessarily 15, but I don't know. Mitzvah, how many does he have? Rick Santorum, oh my God. So it's not necessarily Hasidic, it's the religious...
No,
it's okay, I'm saying that the Hasidic, the religious way of life that encourages reproduction, encourages the world to continue to grow. So definitely the use of birth control wouldn't be so, it isn't something, okay, the husband and wife decides and they would use it. Most people, it would be they would consult their spiritual leader, should we use it, how long should we use it, how long should we wait for to go ahead with the next. And again, definitely people who will be watching this say, hey, Yossi, what are you talking about? My cousin, my nephew. I know everybody has a story to say about their nephew or cousin or sister where it isn't this way. But I hope people understand that, one's way of life doesn't mean that this is what happens to everyone.
No, that's true.
And I'm not saying that I'm a spokesman for the Hasidic community in general, but definitely I come from an interesting background where you can call me, Hasidic, but on the one hand, rigid Chusad, look at how I go dressed, on the other hand, more liberal Chusad. So I think I have a broader view. Not necessarily I'm entitled to speak for anybody else, but I think I have a little bit broader view on how people live. And people are more willing today than even 30 years ago, or 20 years ago, to have, as they call it in the politically correct world, family planning.
Okay, because I just want to say, and this might create a little bit of some uncomfort, but regardless of what the religious leader says or advises, it's still the woman's right to seek medical care and get some birth control if that's what is right for her.
I'll tell you something. I'll answer you something. Most people have spiritual leaders or rabbinical authorities. They choose religious leaders that fit their needs and their desires.
Okay.
In other words, again, are there certain men or women who grew up in certain communities and they got connected to a certain rabbi or to a certain spiritual leader and they're not comfortable because he's a little bit too rigid? Definitely. But many people, once they get married and they, to some extent, they let loose from their parents, their day-to-day living in their parents' household, they would seek out a spiritual leader that is more in line with what he and his wife want to see, 5-10 years down the road.
Mm-hmm.